What's up, Internet? Today we're at Washington Square Park in Salt Lake City, and we're going to be asking people why they're protesting against ICE.
We're fighting against Donald Trump.
What are your guys' thoughts on Trump sending the National Guard to LA?
I think the National Guards that went are cowards. They shouldn't have went against our Constitution.
Do you guys think that there's any room for deportation at all, or do you guys think that it should just be stopped entirely?
It should be stopped entirely.
Okay.
He should be deported.
Trump should be deported?
Trump should be deported. He's a criminal. He should be locked up in prison.
I've heard a lot of people saying that Elon should be deported.
Oh, absolutely. Elon should be in prison forever.
Yeah. I see that you have an impeach Trump sign. What do you think Trump should be impeached for?
High
Everything.
crimes, misdemeanors, treason, taking briberies, getting a jet from people that are terrorists.
Sources tell ABC News President Trump is expected to accept what's likely the most expensive gift a foreign government has ever given to a U.S. president, a super luxury Boeing 747-8 jumbo jet the president plans to use as the new Air Force One.
They're giving us a free jet. I could say, no, don't give us, I want to pay you $1 billion or 400 million or whatever it is. Or I could say, thank you very much. You know?
Oh gosh, the list goes on. For making money off of his meme coin that is illegal. Yes, for everything, for being Trump, for looking so stupid.
What are you out here protesting today? What's your main goal out here?
Just immigration. Everybody needs due process. And they really cracked down on it in a horrible way. They could have done it with a few suits, just walked in the back door. I mean, if they really wanted to deport people, this was a show, This wasn't about deporting so many people. I mean, it wasn't originally 40 people, and now it's boomed into all this, it's crazy.
What are your thoughts on Trump sending the National Guard to LA? Do you think that was necessary or an overreaction?
It was a complete overreaction. The only other time it was done was in 1964. LBJ did it to protect civil rights, not to attack civil rights.
Yeah, that was the last time it was done without a government or a governor's request.
Without the government's request, or the governor's request. That's what I.
Do you think that that's an important distinction and an important thing that a governor does request it?
I mean, the party that speaks about states' rights just steps all over states they don't want to have their rights, I guess, What
are you out here protesting today?
Trump and his fascist regime.
Okay, and what do you think about the protests in LA? Do you think that Trump sending in the National Guard was an overreaction, or do you think that was the appropriate response?
It's definitely an overreaction. LA tends to protest in that way, and you can look back to the 90s with the protests during that time. I mean, hell, I used to live in LA. When LA wins a fucking game, they protest really hard. I think last time, like the Lakers won a big game, they protested and burned cars that time too.
For some fans outside the Staples Center, the celebration turned ugly. Fights broke out, cabs and other cars trying to leave were blocked and rocked, and riot police took on rowdy fans throwing rocks and bottles.
Do you think that there's any distinction in how the message is received between violence and nonviolent protests?
When it comes to fighting fascism, I support violence against fascism. It's the only time I do support violence. Otherwise, I believe in peaceful resistance. But fascists tend to use violence and initiate it, and I believe defending yourself by any means necessary is necessary. Even my great-grandfather, who fought to liberate a Nazi death camp in World War II, would say that. Be gay, punch Nazis is my motto.
Then have you heard Governor Cox's statement that he wants Utah to be the best state to protest, but the worst possible state to riot? Do you have any thoughts on that?
Rarely do I agree with Governor Cox, but that's one of the few times I think I would stand with the statement on him. So.
Okay. And then last question, do you have any friends or family that are undocumented?
I do, but I will not name names to protect their safety.
What are you out here protesting today?
The ICE raids.
The ICE raids? Okay, and I see that you have an upside-down American flag. What does that signify to you?
That America's in distress.
Okay.
That's really about it.
Okay. And then do you think that Trump sending the National Guard to LA was an escalation?
Absolutely. It was a planned escalation. He was trying to create a war zone.
Would you say that the cops or the protesters are more to blame for violence in LA right now?
That's a great question. I think to a certain degree violence is needed to show civil disorder, that we're not okay with the shit that's happening.
Okay.
It's kind of hard to say, you know. I'm not in LA, so I can't say. I just get all the fucking influencer shit that I see everywhere, both sides of it, so I wasn't there, I can't really say.
And what do you think the best solution would be for the over 15 million undocumented immigrants in the United States? Rather than deportation, what do you think would be the best thing for them?
A quicker pathway to citizenship.
Okay. So would you support the Attorney General appointing more immigration judges?
Correct, yeah. Okay. Immigration judges, court lawyers, immigration court lawyers. Just kind of working through it that way.
What are you guys out here protesting today?
The illegal deportations that are going on. Got to give them due process. It's illegal to just snatch people off the streets without a warrant, without any due cause, and it's really bad.
Is this your guys' first protest, or have you gone to many other protests?
Oh yeah, we've been in Salt Lake for a while, so we come out, for sure.
Awesome.
Yeah.
What do you guys think of Governor Cox saying that Utah should be the best state to protest, but the worst possible state to riot?
I mean, I understand, but also a lot of the really important change that's happened in America has resulted because of some violence. Yeah. You know, we don't work 100-hour weeks anymore. We don't have child labor anymore. That was unions. There were riots. The Revolutionary War. This is not. America was kind of founded on sometimes violent revolution, and when the fascist government comes, like, I'm scared what could happen.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm out here.
Okay. Do you guys think that there's any room for deportation right now, or do you think that deportation should just be stopped across the board?
Across the board, honestly.
Across the board.
Yeah, we need to change the immigration system, for sure. Okay. We created an undocumented, population ourselves with our own policies. We need to reverse those policies.
If you guys had 30 seconds with Governor Cox and you could tell him anything about immigration policy, what would you tell him?
Have a little compassion.
Yeah.
Why are you snatching like mothers and families and 4-year-olds with cancer, sending them to prisons in El Salvador with no chance to talk to a lawyer? I mean, it's fascism at its core. It's really dangerous, and we need to do something about it right now. So that's why we're out here.
All right, what are you out here protesting today?
I am out here protesting for the liberation of these Americans that come into our country seeking a new future for themselves. They have every right to be here. We are trying to make a quota out of them, something that is illegally done by the President of the United States. I am sorry about that. He doesn't understand this country was founded on immigrants. We fought a civil war over DEI. We are all DEI, including any immigration family he comes from. What he's doing is illegal, and we have a person in the White House named Mr. Stephen Miller, who is a white nationalist who wants no one here other than white-skinned Americans. That is why I'm here, to support every one of these people who come out and work for a living, get paid. They don't get any health care. They do the hard work that so many citizens don't.
Would you say that there's a two-tiered justice system right now with how immigrants are being treated as compared to citizens?
I don't believe so, because I think where this goes from, you've seen it already with congressional courts, court people, local citizens being round up anytime they get in front of an ICE person that wants to take away somebody. They have a right to speak out against it. They don't have a right to be arrested, no matter how they interfere, as long as it's non-violent. Yeah. This is a peaceful protest. We already had a troll come through here and tried to turn it into something else. Yeah. We cannot have that. We have every right under the First Amendment to come out here and speak our truths. I hope that everybody is listening.
Well, do you think that right now the protesters or the cops are more to blame for any violence in LA, or do you think the violence is being overblown?
I don't know that the violence may have been overblown, but they knew what was coming, and they knew that as soon as Trump opened his mouth and said he's sending in ICE raids without any due justice, okay, for anybody, that there was going to be trouble. And that's exactly what he wanted. That's why he ordered the National Guard into LA. That is why he is trying to pump himself up with a parade with his military. I hope those military people behind that military parade understand that there are more important people than running around trying to make Trump's ego bigger than it is.
Yeah.
He's nothing but a weak man.
Do you think that Trump should have sent the National Guard into LA, or do you think that that was just a total over-escalation?
I think that was overblown. I'm sorry. Yeah, the police there had it under cover. They've been doing this a long time in LA. They could have handled it peacefully. Yes, there's always disruptors, but those disruptors are only in the small few.
Not the majority. You don't think that the majority...
The majority is no. This is overkill on blowing it out of proportion. That's what my feeling is about it. And I'm going to stand here tonight with all these people. And if ICE wants to come for me speaking out, if Trump wants to come for me for speaking out, I am right here.
Since you may have been there to see it, maybe not in LA itself, but with the 1992 riots, how do you see these recent riots or recent protests in comparison?
They're not in comparison to what happened there. That was something that was terrible. We saw it also in the Rodney King trouble. And the thing is that when it gets out of hand like that, when you have hundreds of people involved in violence, then you need help, all the help you can to quash it.
I think something like 63 people ended up dying after the 1992 the 1992 riots. That's a ton in comparison to like what's going on now. It's not even comparable.
No, it is not comparable. That's all there is to it.
What are you out here protesting today?
Freedom for all the families out there. I mean, I personally am Palestinian, so I'm in a, I guess, like secondary protest for that too.
Okay.
And
I've noticed that that's kind of intersectioning here, where there's some pro-Palestine and also pro-immigration protests happening at the same time.
Yeah, and I think, I mean, like at the end of the day, we're all like supporting each other with like both like the pro-Palestine and like the immigration protests. I mean, I came here mainly for the immigration stuff, but the support for the pro-Palestine that we're seeing around is also like very appreciated.
Yeah.
And it's pretty much like hand in hand with like both like what's going on recently where like there's been like Palestinian people or like people supporting pro-Palestine protests have been like getting detained and like taken out.
Yeah.
Same with like these families that are getting separated from each other because of immigration and whatnot. So, I mean, it's great to see all of it around.
Do you think that Utah law enforcement should be coordinating with ICE, or do you think that they should refuse to coordinate with ICE?
At the end, I don't know. It's like they shouldn't, but you never know. It's like it's not in our power to do. So what we can do to help is just like be aware, post about like if there's any ICE sightings, and like at the end of the day, I feel like law enforcement doesn't really have our back on much stuff, and they will end up like supporting or like helping out with ICE. So we just have to like be aware and like tell everyone around us when stuff is going on.
Do you think that there's any room for deportation, or do you think that deportation should just be stopped across the board?
It should be stopped across the board. I think the way it's getting done right now is I don't know, it's not very good.
Yeah.
And it's just including a lot of like innocent people in the mix that are in like a lot of citizens, and just it seems like it's getting done in a way that's like taking out people who are speaking out on it.
What are you guys out here mainly protesting today?
Bullshit.
Bullshit.
Let's keep it simple. That is happening in our country right now. We're here to defend the people that cannot speak or cannot be out here supporting. So I'm from Mexico. I've recently got my citizenship, and I'm gonna use it. Thank you. To the best of my ability. So I will let people know that immigrants like me, we are a great addition to the country. We work very hard, and we're not criminals, and we're here for a better life.
Yeah. There's been a lot of conversation on the right about why Mexican flags are being waved at these protests. What does the Mexican flag symbolize to you when you're waving it here?
When I wave my flag, it represents my culture. It represents where I come from. And people always say, why do you care so much about waving a flag? Why didn't you go back?
Yeah.
But the truth of the matter is, it's like the U.S. and it's a whole new, history lesson has a lot of There's a big reason why a lot of people choose to leave Mexico for this country because of all. You have to read this book that tells you all the history of why the U.S. created all these stores in Mexico and then forced people to move across the border. And again, Utah was part of Mexico, so it's almost like being at home. So,
yeah.
Ta-da.
What do you think of Trump sending the National Guard to LA? Do you think that was an overreaction, or do you think that was an appropriate response?
That was just a distraction for all this stuff that is happening in the White House. I feel like there is so much more, that there's a lot of things happening, and there's release the Epstein files. Yeah. Please do. I feel like that it was just a distraction. Like the protests are like here. Like my family's from California, and the protests are peaceful. Yeah. So there was no need for that. So it's just a distraction.
Do you think that the violence that's been portrayed in the news is an overblowing of the violence, or do you think that that's portraying the situation accurately?
I think that given how big of a hold the presidency has on the media, it's really hard to tell. I really doubt that any of that is factual, given again that we have to believe the people that's in the protest with a holistic view, not people who are controlled by the government.
Okay. So. And then last question, what do you think the best thing would be to do about the over 15 million undocumented immigrants in the United States rather than deporting them? Do you think that there should be a system where their asylum cases are heard, or what do you think the best solution would be for all of those undocumented immigrants in the United States?
I think we all have a story, and it's very important. I got my citizenship through my asylum, and I was lucky for my case to be heard. And oftentimes I have this remorse that I am in this position of privilege now.
That you got in when others haven't.
And what about everybody else? Everybody else is just as important as me, and everybody has struggled just as much as I did. Yeah. So like in the 1980s, there was a movement where a lot of people, got their citizenship that were here,
But that was through Ronald Reagan, wasn't that the wet foot, dry foot policy where it was Cubans coming over? Where
I think it was Mexicans as well. There's a lot of Mexicans.
It was a more widespread policy than just Cubans.
Yeah, it was. It was. I think that's what needs to be done. I feel like we are a great addition to the country. I feel like we support. We provide so much to this country that once we're gone, if we are gone, the country will feel that, and especially the countries the states that benefit from all these unclaimed taxes and all these things that we paid into the system. So, good luck with that.
The following interview is with a self-described Indigenous man who also works in the unsheltered community. The interview is about 10 minutes long, and I figure that if you want to, you can watch the entire thing uncut right here. If you don't want to watch that, you can go ahead and skip to this timestamp in order to see the protesters move into the streets for the rest of the march.
All right, what are you doing out here today?
All right, so I'm actually a local Indigenous activist, so stuff like this is something that's very much meaningful to me when it comes to like immigration and borders and things like that, because as I said, I'm an Indigenous person to this place, and people from Mexico, people from Honduras, people from El Salvador, people from Chile, we're all cousins. We're all related to each other, and it's important that we use our privileges to stand up in solidarity with those communities that are being violated by the United States of America. And so in my speech, as you heard, it was just to kind of point out that the United States of America started out as an act of terrorism, as an act of civil war, of claiming war on its own people and looting, and that looting went further than just a little bit of property and buildings. That looting went into the realm of they stole a whole nation. They stole whole nations. Land. Whole nations. 500 nations were here. All of us sovereign individual nations. It's interesting that they went from, we had a better relationship with England because England recognized our sovereignty in a lot of different places, but the United States totally disregarded our sovereignty, and we're still plenary to the state. So I'm here to show my support to all people, right? Like, I'm a firm believer that we're all related. But in this essence right here, people from in Turtle Island, North America, Central America, South America, we're all related. And it's time that we stand up for each other. And it's time for the people with the privilege to stand up for those who can't speak, right? Because people, hey babe, people from European descent, you know, they have this privilege of like being here and taking part, and they're actually filming
right here.
Oh, sorry.
It's okay.
Sorry, guys.
It's all right.
Get you next if you want.
No, I know him.
Love you both. Love you both. Love you both.
No worries.
Anyway, no, these are my friends. Which is another thing that I do. I actually work in the unsheltered community, you know, because I really try to, you know, we're all related, and we need to take care of those who are suffering the most, which would be actually people on the streets.
Yeah.
So any marginalized community, when they're on the streets, it's even worse, right?
Yeah.
Undocumented on the streets, worse. Gay on the streets, worse, right?
Yeah.
A woman on the streets, worse. Trans on the streets, worse, right? So anyway, that's why I do what I do. But my whole purpose here is to show that I am using my privilege and my voice, because I have a voice, to declare solidarity with my relatives, and also to let people understand their relationship to other people, because we are all related, and good relatives don't go and take over a country, which is, some people might say, hey, maybe that's what people from the South and Central America are doing here, but those are our cousins, and it's really none of their business. It's our business. It's an internal matter, and people and a government such as the United States of America has no moral authority here, because they started without indigenous people signing the Constitution. No woman signed the Constitution. No, you know, they say it's for the people, but it wasn't for the people. It wasn't signed for them. And then we had slaves, so obviously it wasn't for the people. Anyway, so that's what I'm doing.
Would you support funds that are being used for ICE and deportation efforts being used for social services?
Oh, absolutely.
Where would you rather that go?
Absolutely. And see, that's what, you know, when we were doing the Black Lives Matter marches, all that defunding the police, all that was about was putting the funds in proper places, which would be social workers, case workers, case managers, people that can deal with people that are schizophrenic, people that can deal with people who are having, who are in high emotional, traumatic experiences, right? It's putting money in the right place, right? Yeah. So police can do their job of policing and doing things that they should be doing, but it shouldn't be in the realm of harassment of people, you know? And when it comes to the immigration, the only people that should be allowed to make immigration decisions are the indigenous people.
Yeah.
Because it's our land.
Yeah.
It's not Trump's land. It wasn't Barack's land. None of the presidents, all of them are presiding over a government that should never have existed and should not exist to this day. Yeah. And all those borders were not made by us. None of the borders were made by us.
Would you support a world without borders?
No. And this is the reason why. It's because I believe in sovereignty of people and sovereignty of people's groups.
Okay.
So when you're in England, they can decide what happens in England.
Self-determination.
It's self-determination for everybody, right? So that's why I would say that Northern Ireland, which is basically owned by England, they should go back to them being indigenous and being sovereign themselves, right? Okay, see, everywhere needs to be turned over. So when it comes to borders, now that's going to be a big dispute.
Yeah.
But it's our dispute. It's nobody else's. We don't want people from Europe coming in. Well, they already did come in here and said, these are the borders. These are the areas, right?
Yeah.
They're foreigners.
System upheld.
They're foreigners. You know, that's up to us to decide. You know, that's up to us. It's irrelevant. It's morally irrelevant, but unfortunately right now, we are under the authority of the United States government, and people by social contract are abiding by that.
Yeah.
So something's got to happen. I don't know what it is, but my purpose is to educate people on the morality and the responsibility to take care of each other as family. And good families don't go across the sea and go into other people's houses and say, hey, we're going to give you this God, this religion, this language, these ideologies, and you're going to live by these things, and you're going to pledge allegiance to our damn flag, and you're going to say this national anthem to our damn country. Yeah. Think about it. These are things that people don't think about, right?
Yeah.
Like, this is essentially what we're doing, we're told to do as indigenous people is celebrate being conquered by another group.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous. And if anybody being proud of being, anyway, they're cruising. So what's up?
That's basically it. I mean, what do you think the best thing would be for all the undocumented immigrants in the United States? Do you think that they should just be given amnesty, or do you think that there should be more immigration judges?
Let me tell you something. I have no problem with the deportation of people, criminals of some certain level. But that goes for people from England. That goes for people from Ireland. That goes for everybody.
Yeah.
Fucking send them all back. If you fucking kill somebody, send them back to fucking England. If they're English descent, send them back to England. Send them back to Ireland. Send them back to Africa. Send them back to Japan. Send them wherever the fuck they are, where their historical ancestors are from. But indigenous people, we are the ones we can, and we decide amongst ourselves what happens. So when it comes to amnesty, I don't know. But all I know is that people have a bad perspective, and people are hypocritical. People, generally Americans are the most hypocritical people that I know.
Yeah.
Because that one, they want justice and liberty, but justice can never happen as long as the United States exists. Justice would require the abolition of the United States of America. Liberty would require that indigenous people actually get to be self-determinate. We don't get to say what happens on our own reservations. We have to go through the federal government. The federal government has to tell us what is allowed and what is not allowed.
Yeah.
So we still are not sovereign, which people don't know. It's education. Education's the key.
You think that that's the most important thing that people can do in order to be involved with this movement, is to educate themselves?
Educate themselves, educate their sphere, and in some generation, maybe your generation, will get land back, and people will figure out, hey, we're on stolen land, and it just won't be something that people stay. If you're on stolen land, you go to the people whose that land was stolen from, and you say, what would you like me to do?
So
it doesn't mean you need to go home. It says, how can I support you? What do I need to do for you?
So you would support reparations then? I know that's kind of a loaded word.
Reparations? Okay, let me tell you. Are you talking about, like,
if you don't mind us taking some?
Yeah, no, reparations
so
for
Native
people,
Americans.
Right? Oh, for Native Americans.
Yeah, for indigenous people. Do you think that indigenous people, I mean, because you're talking about returning the land back to the indigenous people.
I'm talking about returning leadership back to us.
Okay.
Okay, let me tell you something. If Salt Lake City is on Ute land, Goshute land, Shoshone land, the mayor should not be voted in by a populace that is non-indigenous. They should be voted in by the people who are indigenous. Yeah. And if they want her to be the leader of their city, then they can do that. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's not necessary. It's
about self-determination.
It is the voice. It is the voice. So it's all complex. But if people base what they do and say in not being hypocritical and having a systematic knowledge of if I believe this, then I have to believe this. Just like I said, if people that celebrate the United States of America as being a legitimate authority, then what they are doing is legitimizing the theft of land, the murder of people, the cultural genocide, and genocide. It just goes along with it.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for your time, dude.
Yeah.
Like I said earlier, they want us to be afraid. They don't want us to be deceived.
What are you out here doing?
We're sending all billionaires to space.
Okay, why do you want billionaires in space?
They have the money to go there. Why not send them there? Support local mountain biking. Keep Earth for us humans.
Okay, sorry for this hard question, but if they're in space, then how do we tax them?
We can't. They took all the money. It's all in the parts and the fuels, and we're probably fucked anyways. But send them to space. We'll get more space than Earth. Let people on the trails. Support your local mountain bike network. And fuck ICE.
Thank you.
Fuck Donald Trump! 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 Fuck Donald Trump!
Are you guys out here today?
Well, because ICE is just doing everything illegally. They're not really giving due process.
Do you have any family that's undocumented or any friends that are undocumented?
Yeah, a shit ton of them.
Yeah. But what do you think the best way to deal with their undocumented status would be?
It's always a long process to get them citizenship, but there's always background checks. There's always, you know, a solid majority of them that never committed a crime. They're always paying their taxes out of fear that they'll be deported if they don't. So it's really just, it takes a long time, but yeah, just do background checks and make sure nobody's actually committing crimes, because most immigrants don't.
Yeah.
Most immigrants are living in fear every single day of their lives.
It's not necessarily about what process would you support when they're making the process harder, they're incentivizing hiding, they're incentivizing not going through the actual process. They claim to want people to do it the right way, when making the right way something violent
And complicated.
and fear kind of driven. So if you want there to be a right way, you can't incentivize fear with that.
Yeah. Do you think it is at all the fault of the Democratic Party for allowing immigrants into the United States without a system to be able to hear their cases rapidly, or do you think that it's not entirely on them and that it could have that it couldn't have been done in a different way?
I don't think the problem is allowing immigrants into the country illegally, because there's always methods you can claim asylum, right? You can come into the country. People who have fake IDs are committing a worse crime than people who are here illegally. So I think when you're kind of framing the issue as like, oh, these people are here illegally, why isn't the issue, how can we support people who really need to do something so drastic as to like walk miles and miles every day, leave your family, you know, get split up from the people you love, come here with nothing. Like, why can't we make that kind of the main issue of like, how do we support these people without kind of framing it with fear and racism and kind of making it this dramatic issue that needs this kind of level of protest?